What's up, y'all? Welcome to the Better Than We Thought podcast, where we talk about how our relationship with God, each other, and life in general is so much better than we thought, all because of the gospel. I missed last week. I won a burger.
What happened last week?
We were eating.
Oh, that's right.
Why don't we eat on
Do Not
every single episode?
Because it was extremely chaotic to record that.
It
The
was
amount
so
of what
fun.
people didn't see of phones falling off tables, and we were sitting right by a balcony. If one of the phones had gone over and landed on someone's head 3 stories or 2 stories below, they would have ended up in the hospital.
I'm thankful people didn't complain about the food. I didn't see any dislikes, you know? 'Cause
Oh, about us eating?
I was just straight up like,
Yeah, I was eating a burger and it was a disaster, and I was trying to feed Ember and I was smushed, so I could barely move my arms more than this. So I'm trying to eat a burger without banging you or smashing Ember, and then
because I had to get into the shot because we didn't bring a tripod, and so we literally, stole a little prop that they
Yeah.
had. Anyway, I don't know.
I honestly don't watch our vlogs because
It hurts you.
yes, it's too.
This one was
it's too
really
cringe.
good.
No, I'm not saying that the content isn't good, but it's just I watch so many vlogs on YouTube of people who have been vlogging for like 10 years and who are really good at it, and I can't watch ours
Do not
because.
despise the day of small beginnings, my love.
But I know it could be so much better, but I don't have the time to make it better.
Oh
Maybe
my
I
goodness.
should.
Well, babe, yeah, that was wild. We made it. We survived.
The point was my mom's story, which was really good.
That did come
The rest
through.
of it, you know what? Take it or leave it.
Hey, Gabe loved it. And if Gabe loved it, it's okay.
I don't know that means everybody's going to love it just because Gabe loved it, but
Hey, your mom's friends, I think, are loving it.
I'm
And
sure.
shout out to Carolyn's friends if you're listening. Glad to have you on
I
board.
doubt they're listening to this one.
They might.
We don't even know what this one's about.
They might have subscribed last week.
Fair.
Anyway, how you doing, babe?
I'm doing good.
What's been on your mind? And I ask you because, again, like these weeks can get pretty wild. So I feel like we connect a lot at the beginning of the week, and then there's like 3 days.
Wednesday's the craziest day by far for you.
Yeah.
You're normally gone from like
Youth.
Well, then Tuesday you have to leave for men's group at like 6 a.m. So that's not really.
It's wild.
And
So,
you have meetings all day Tuesday. So yeah, Tuesday and Wednesday are really, really packed.
so I have a good time catching up with you. So yeah, what's kind of on your mind? You can either go like, you can go like.
Why don't you
something
take
funny
a guess?
or-
What do you think's on my mind?
Baby proofing.
No, but that is in my Amazon cart.
Yeah,
It's
of
more
course
expensive.
it is.
It's more expensive than you think. I hate to tell you.
Okay.
It's like $10 for 2 like outlet covers.
No,
Do you know how
baby.
many outlets we have in our
Oh.
house? And that's the cheapest one. So I guess $5 for 1 outlet.
I'm gonna do more research.
Okay.
That sounds terrible.
Now we don't have to cover every single Yes, we do have to cover every single outlet. That's not covered by like a couch or something. And the ones that are high up in the kitchen, we don't have to cover those.
Maybe I don't want to be depressed on here.
Okay, you asked what was on my mind, and then you said baby proofing. So.
Okay, well, you had me
Okay,
guess.
well, here's why we need to do baby proofing. Because last night Ember was on the diaper changing pad. I go to the bathroom, and it's been a long day. On Wednesdays,
I don't know if you're allowed to tell this story. We're gonna get reported.
no, we're not. It's not like that.
All right, go.
She moved herself off of a 1-inch foam platform. That was all she did. She was only lifted off the ground by 1 inch, and she was able to kick off of the 1-inch high foam thing. So she didn't hurt herself, obviously.
No, that's true.
But the fact that she was able to completely take herself off of the diaper changing pad in the few seconds that I was in the bathroom and still be happy playing with her toy was interesting. She's going to be crawling before we know it.
She's getting wild. So was that what was on your mind?
No.
Oh, okay.
You guess.
So what's on your mind?
Well, we were just talking about it like all of 5 minutes ago about dealing with. Well, I'm way too far back from this thing.
Yeah,
Aren't I?
you're good.
Dealing with intense children as opposed to active babies, or active temperament type babies is what they're being called, as opposed to your average baby.
So can you please dumb that down for the dads, and even more so for the single people in the room?
Yeah. It's just a baby that defies all the things that babies normally do, like sleep and eat, a certain amount of hours, or not eat a certain amount of hours. We have one of those babies who is at max percentage every waking moment, and it's very entertaining. And we're learning now to, like, not necessarily, because, like, at first, if you have a baby like that doesn't do the things that, like, all the courses say your baby's supposed to do, or all the stereotypical, like, sleep courses or this or that, and your baby is just, like, way more crazy or active or whatever, then you're like, man, am I doing something wrong?
Sure.
But as time goes on, I think we've learned, no, she's her own little personality, and she is wild. That's the diaper changing table illustration. Like, she's so wound up all the time. And yeah, I have a friend who just had a baby, and she said her baby was already sleeping 6-hour stretches without eating, and the baby's a week old. And I was like, that's amazing. That happens 3 or 4 times a month for us. And no, it's a little more than that. But lately she's been back into every 3 or 4 hours at night eating.
Yeah. I mean, it's like a couple things. Like, one, it's like we talked about, like, please take care of yourself, because I'm just finding myself so exhausted. Like, because
she doesn't just lay there like a calm baby. She's like, kick, punch, grab your face, try to do this, try to do that. If you're just holding her, she's doing this constantly. It's like, it is a little exhausting, but it's not bad. I think that's the thing, is that, like, it can be labeled like, oh, I have a good baby, my baby's chill, or she's not bad. She's just this extremely energetic, wound up, probably because she's so energetic is why she has to eat so much, because she's so active. It's so crazy. But she has very high highs.
That's something I do appreciate about how you're thinking about it, is that
ASMR. Oh my god. My dad's editing this and he's like, what the heck is ASMR? Google it, Dad.
That's why the homies listen to this podcast. It's all for that. No, I really appreciate how you think about her behavior and how she acts, because honestly, I feel like without some of your structure, the way you've, like, coached me to think about it, I think I would be kind of tempted to think, like,
she's just a bad baby.
Yo, what the heck?
Well, because she is way more. I was talking to a friend of mine who I had done some work for online in the past, and we were talking about me potentially doing some hours, and I was texting him yesterday, and I was like, I don't think it's going to happen, because, like, she is such a high maintenance baby, and that can be seen in a bad way, like, oh my gosh, but really it's not. And also, like, as your baby's starting to understand stuff, like, how do you think they feel when you're like, oh my gosh, my baby's so hard? Like, sure, they may not fully be able to, like, interpret all that, but at some point they're gonna, or, like, what if you're still saying that when they're 2 years old and they are still kind of hearing you? Like, no, she's not a hard baby. She's just got her own unique personality with crazy energy and also highly sensitive to stimulation, so constantly wanting touch. And that doesn't make her a bad baby. That's just, she's not the stereotypical baby. Yeah.
I mean, that just makes me think so much of, like, that opens up a lot of different things. If Gabe was in the room, wow, Gabe's second shout out. This always happens. If Gabe was in the room, I would say he really eggs me on. But I would probably say, like, like, there's a word in that,
Word. Okay, what's the word in that?
There's a serious word in that, like, just how, I think it's so important what you call something, when you categorize something as.
Yes, I'm really realizing that.
That, again, like, that identity piece of, like, just because she acts in a way that is inconvenient for you, doesn't mean that you categorize her in that way. And it just makes me think of like how different that is than, you know, what is often the case in this world, in our culture. It's like, you know, you are what you do. You are what you've done, you know.
I'm thinking about the shall not be named sermon where the individual talked about how babies are worth absolutely nothing because they can't do anything for us.
Sure.
And we were pregnant at that point, and I'm sure the person had good intentions. It did come out right. We were pregnant at that point, and I remember we were like, oof, that feels so wrong. But wow, now 6 months on the other side of having her, like, yeah, she's not exactly making our lives easier, but we wouldn't trade it for anything. And she's not worth anything because she, you know, can push us out of our comfort zones. It's actually one of the best things ever. And, you know, we love being parents and we love her, and it's not related to her performance or how well she sleeps.
And I think that's such an underrated aspect of who God is.
Mm-hmm.
I think sometimes in I'll say it for myself, like I can be tempted to subconsciously think that I am a better parent than God is.
Yeah, I have thought the same thing. We never talked about this.
Go for it.
No, I was just agreeing with you. It sounds incredibly sacrilegious to say that.
Yeah, but when I think about it, like, okay, that I have more grace on my child, or I have more patience with my child, or I am more understanding of you know, her highs and lows than I often give God credit for with me or with other people.
Yes.
I so quickly do default to I often find myself, you know, you keep ruining me with all of these parenting things, but
hey, you're doing so well.
But I'm learning so many things I wish I'd never learned. No, but
just kidding, because you actually realize that they're helpful.
I know. It's like, ugh. Anyway.
Wait, like what? Give me an example.
No, it's just like, why do I know about, you know, this school of parenting compared to this one, and why do I know the course name of, like, taking care of babies, or like, why do I know about these things?
Nurtured First.
I'm like, oh my goodness. Okay. Anyway, I like to joke. I know our favorite one is like the Nurture Revolution.
Yeah, we love that one. And Nurtured First.
And
10 out of 10 recommend to anybody listening.
I mean, I will say I do enjoy calling myself the Nurture Revolutionary.
You do. Just, also, when I was pregnant, you liked calling yourself the Doulo. And you said, when my friends used a doula, you said you were going to start your own doula company, but it was going to be called the Doulos.
Oh,
and now our group chat with them is called the Doulos. So you're really great at making these things funny.
I have to give myself some comedic relief because it can be painful at times. Mm-hmm. But, you know, one of the things I do enjoy, or not that I enjoy, one of the things that I do think of is like the typical way of parenting. And it's not a matter of judgment, but again, it is very much in that American mindset of, you know, at the end of the day, it's about this.
The parent. And
yeah, it's about this child conforming to my schedule, my needs, my wants. And it's not, you know, trying to comment on that parenting, but
maybe some parents have to do that.
Yeah, but I often think about God in that way, or in the past, and then sometimes in the present. You know,
he's expecting you to conform, not to his obviously holiness, because yes, he is, but like he has like these certain expectations for you, and if you don't measure up, he's disappointed, kind of thing.
Yeah, 100%. And so that's what I mean when saying, like, I think sometimes there is that temptation to believe that I am a better parent than God.
Well, that's something that I had definitely been feeling, and you've been helping. We talked about this last week, I think, where some of the lies that I've struggled with growing up kind of have come back since parenting, of like, I'm not good enough, or I'm not doing this enough, or God's disappointed in me, probably just because I am used to when I was single, or even when we were married, I would have like 2-3 hour devotions a lot of times. Well, good luck doing that when you have a baby. Like, it does not happen. It cannot happen. Maybe scattered throughout the day, but honestly, not even. Like, it doesn't work that way. And so that feels very different. That's been a very big, she's squealing, a very big adjustment for me. And definitely there's been the temptation to feel like, God's disappointed in me because I can't spend the time with him that I used to. But you've been reminding me that that's not the case. And that is something I had thought about, like, because you would be like, well, how would you feel if this was Ember or whatever? And it's like, no, I would never be disappointed in her for these things. But then feeling like God is. And I was, really processing through some of that the other day when my parents were watching her and we were at a coffee shop, and I was just thinking about some of that and really realizing when we have that feeling, it's because we're really believing some pretty big lies about God. Because obviously we're not better parents than God is. And so if we're feeling that way, not because we think we're amazing parents, but because we're believing lies that God wants us to do this and this and this, and he's disappointed when we don't do it in a certain way. Or, if we don't spend 2 hours journaling our thoughts and our prayers, that God's disappointed. No, he's not. Especially if our heart is in sync with him and we're wanting to connect with him. He understands there's some days when the baby's crying, and honestly, weeks and months where the journal doesn't come out for me because it's like I don't have a hand to, or, I pull the journal out and I start journaling, and 5 minutes in, I have to put it away, and that just doesn't work for my brain. For my brain, I need a solid chunk of time if I'm going to journal and, like, actually start thinking, like, to, like, put my thoughts on paper. I can't do that if I only have, like, 5 minutes. So that's just my personality. But, yeah, I think that it's very easy to slip back into believing lies that God it's about our performance, or he's disappointed, or that, we can never measure up. And those really are lies. And he's really been just reminding me of the truth. There's we have like this acoustic worship session that we'll listen to at night to kind of help Ember go to sleep. And it's the song from Upper Room that plays partway through. It's normally about like 40 minutes into the song, which is like right about when like we're laying down and hopefully she's like out. Normally she is. Sometimes we get to that point in the worship session and she's awake and I'm like, dang it, she should be asleep right now. But it's the I'll Pour My Love on You song. I don't know what the rest of the lyrics are.
Pour you on your feet, like wine for you to drink, like water from my heart. I pour my love on you. If grace is like perfume, if praise is like perfume, I'll lavish mine on you till every drop is gone.
Aww.
I'll pour my love on you.
That was very good.
Thanks. I love that song.
I do too.
And I got like the baby motions and everything. For those of you listening. Anyway.
But when I've been, at the end of the day, when I'm completely exhausted most days, because it's just how it works when you have a baby.
Honestly, getting to the end of the day is a miracle. I'm so serious. Anyway, keep going.
I don't know, baby. We only have one kid. How do you think we're going to feel when we have 4, Lord willing?
Another miracle is on the way, right?
Hopefully. But anyway, when it comes to that part of the song, I felt like the last few nights God's really been impressing on me, like, hey, he's pouring his love on me. Like, instead of me feeling like I got to do this and I got to do that and I didn't spend enough time with you today. And some days go by in such a blur that I get to the end of the day and I'm like, how much did I even pray today? Because I was trying to stop her from screaming and trying to stop the dog from doing this and taking a fork off the table and putting it in the bed so he can chew on it. And like, our dog is going through a regression.
He's acting like a teenager.
I mean, a real regression. I don't know what's going on.
But that's kind of his age, so.
Yeah, and he was abused, so that's his excuse for everything that he does. And honestly, it probably is because he's a dog.
I mean, when you... anyway, I don't know how much you want to get into this, but yeah, when you have gone through that trauma,
Yeah, he
I'm
went
sure
through
there's some
terrible
kind of
trauma.
like developmental thing.
Oh,
where-
totally.
Yeah, because he was acting like a, the most scared, like just going in a
Yeah.
corner, not
Now
acting
he's
normal.
doing the big sibling thing. That's what it is.
Hmm.
He's getting grumpy because he doesn't like that he's not getting the attention anymore,
He growled at Ember for reference.
which made us very not happy.
Anyway,
But also he's getting like grumpy with us sometimes too. Like, give me more attention. So anyway, I don't remember what the point of that was. Oh, on the busy days where I feel like
Yeah.
I just haven't had that time to connect with God, and then I'm laying in bed at the end of the night, and God's just reminding me, like, hey, you spent the whole day loving this little human. Like, let me love you, and you don't need to feel guilty that you maybe only got 5 minutes to read your Bible in the morning. Like, yeah.
that's good. No, that's so good. It is like, something we talked about is in our lives. And I think I told somebody this, like, I think last Sunday. It's like, I did what you're not supposed to do. I asked them how old they were. But they were...
Well, how old did they look?
They were younger,
What
like
does that mean?
20s.
Oh,
So I
then that's
figured it
not
wasn't
bad,
like
is it?
offensive,
No, I actually like it when people ask me how old I am instead of assuming I'm 16.
There you go. But I had a point with it. I was trying to be pastorally, whatever. And anyway,
It's pastoral to ask somebody how old they are.
no, with the point I was about to make, which I'm about to share.
Okay, I'm like,
I
wait,
don't know why
this
I
is a new
built
one.
it up so much. But anyway, it was, I was like, okay, how many, how old are you, whatever. And how long has it been that you've, given your life to Jesus and have started learning what the Bible is? It's been like 6 months, right?
Wow.
So what I said is like, you've had 25 years.
Did you just give this person's age away? Tell me that you made that.
I gave a false
up.
number.
Okay,
Yeah,
thank God.
Yeah. And also, I didn't even give their identity.
Well, I know,
So
but
how
what
would
if
anyone know?
people from Fresh Life are listening and they're 25 years old and they're like, yeah, I had that conversation with him on Sunday.
Oh my gosh. Anyway, point is, you've had 25 years thinking one way about who God
Yeah.
is and thinking life is one thing and all that stuff, all those mindsets. You've had 6 months, right, of just understanding and Jesus showing you that there's a whole different reality.
Wow.
And we talked about that a little bit, where it's like, the amount of your life where you've had more gospel aligned, truth centered theology, or
so
in other
small.
words, understanding of who God is so small compared to the years that you spend thinking that he was something that he is not. And that's the same thing for me. And so anyway, it helps me make sense of like, oh, okay. It makes sense that, you're talking about for you as a mother and feeling like, man, I'm not connecting with God in that way. For me, I've been struggling less with what does God think of me in terms of like, okay, he loves me, and more like just struggling in choosing to trust God. In terms of like, it's been a disorienting time because it's like I feel this super deep drive to provide for you guys, to set us up, especially financially, more than I currently have been able to. And it feels like so many thoughts tell me that I am a failure in that God is not providing. And,
because you're not where you want to be financially.
Yeah.
That must be because God's not providing. Or that you're a
yeah.
failure.
And that, yeah, that, the lie is that God has not provided what I need. That God is, playing like carrot and a stick with me or whatever, where he's not giving me what I'm asking him for. And it's not that he owes me, but the lie can be like, you know what, at the end of the day, I know God's going to give me heaven, and I'm he's led me through a journey of I'm very at peace with that reality. And I believe that wholeheartedly. But when it comes to life, it's like, man, life is always going to be like this. I'm never going to reach my goals, and God really doesn't care about it. It's like, oh, God doesn't care, and God's not going to provide more than just my needs.
Yeah.
And just our needs, right? Because we have a roof over our heads, etc.
Right.
But I'm asking God for what I really feel like, hey, there's more than just, there's getting out of debt. There's all this stuff, right?
Being able to buy a house instead of throwing money away by renting.
Exactly. Yeah. But something someone told me this Sunday was that has been helping me in thinking through it. He talked about how someone shared with him that if whatever, we often talk about God will provide or God has provided, but there is a truth that in this day, whatever you have is enough. In this day, whatever God has provided is the provision that you needed for this day in the present. And that's been really hard for me to accept. And so, again, having this mindset and my whole life that, I am what I achieve. I am what I do not, right? I am how I perform, or people will view me in accordance with that. And I know I'm going a whole lot of different places, but that's how it's felt on the inside, where it's like, God, can I trust you to provide? God, can I trust you to help me, reach this? And at the end of the day, I'm not feeling it, but Lord, I do trust you. And then just like making that decision every single day, that's been really difficult.
Yeah.
But it's been something I've had to choose every day because I've had so much of that prior programming.
And you have been choosing it every day. Every single morning you wake up, you change Umber's diaper, and you listen to worship music. And that's pretty cool. I really respect that.
I got that from Larry Bry. He's a campus pastor at Elevation. That's actually been really helpful.
Yeah.
Because it's like...
Especially with these early mornings that you've been doing.
I feel so negative in the morning.
So many jobs and stuff. Yeah, it can be hard.
I feel so... Like, I'm not someone that typically wakes up very happy.
That's true. That's got to make it so much harder.
Yeah.
Because you're waking up early and, you're not, you don't really like that.
And so it's just a choice.
But some mornings some mornings I've seen you really live by faith because, okay, that sounds bad. I mean, every morning you do, but some mornings significantly so. Because I'll be in bed, with Ember or whatever. You'll get up, you'll go make your coffee, and then you'll come and get her so you can do her diaper and stuff. And when you come to get her, sometimes you're just, so happy. And you're like, oh my gosh, hi. And I'm like... Whoa. You really rolled out the right side of the bed, but it's not that. It's that you're really living by faith in those moments.
And there's times where you do feel it, where you feel the joy of the Lord. And I think we've talked about this a little bit where, in terms of our moods, it's not that we live by our choosing to live by our moods, but it's a lot easier to be positive earlier in the day.
Yes, I didn't used to feel that really before being a parent. I used to like the evenings, but definitely being a parent, I feel much more positive in the morning. And by the end of the day, I'm like, whew, everything feels overwhelming. Yeah. Because you're tired, you're overstimulated, at least for me. It's like last night you were gone to, you were doing youth, so you didn't get home till 9:30. and I'm trying to like,
You have to do everything yourself. That's really hard.
well, and that's okay, but then like Ember goes from her 0 to 100 of I'm not hungry and I have to eat this very second, otherwise I'm gonna die. And I'm trying to clean the bottles and take care of Odie and get the bed ready for her and turn the fireplace on and, you know, put her little owlet sock on, and she's just like losing her mind. And I'm like, I need patience. So definitely, I don't know what the point of any of that was. But
the
evenings
mornings,
can be
evenings,
harder.
yeah. Yeah. And so, anyway, all that to say, that's where I've been seeing, like, God kind of teaching me more of who he is, and also, in some ways, I think, leaving me in a place to grow.
Mm-hmm.
And not getting me out of the situation.
Yeah.
And allowing me to go through it in a way that I really haven't before. And we've talked a little bit about that, you know, about what we've been learning in this season and all that stuff. But anyway, this whole thing of, like, again, letting go of the lies that we've believed for so long and receiving God's truth.
I think if I was going to title this episode, I would call it God's Not Disappointed in You.
That's good. Say more, though.
That's kind of the thread that I think we're talking about, is that, you know, we can, when we live from that belief that God's disappointed in us, I was realizing even, like, when we were talking about it, and I was like, you know, I'm not spending enough time with God, and so God must be disappointed in me. But I also realized then, as I was thinking about it, that the fact that I feel like God's disappointed in me is making me not want to spend time with him.
Yo.
Which makes sense. Yeah. And I remembered that's something I had dealt with years ago in the past, before I really understood the freedom of the gospel, as I would feel like, oh, God's disappointed in me for this, whatever this reason is. And then that would just continue the cycle, because the more I felt like God was disappointed in me, the less I actually felt like spending time with him. The more I felt like a failure, and the more I just avoided. But realizing, like, God's not disappointed in me because I'm doing the best I can to take care of my baby, and I don't always get the time I want to spend with him. Realizing that, then frees, and realizing, like, no, like, actually he wants to do this parenting thing with me and help me as I'm dealing with these different situations and give me strength. And remembering that then makes me like, oh, I really want to spend time with him, you know? Just like with us as a spouse, like, if I felt like you were always disappointed in me because I wasn't, like, being a good enough wife or something, it'd be like, okay, well, then the last thing I feel like doing is, like, trying to spend time with you. Because nobody feels like spending time with someone who they think is, like, upset with them. And so realizing, like, wow, the devil really can get us in a whole cycle by just trying to get us to believe lies. And it's a choice, whether we feel it or not, to stop believing them. And for me, I had to remind myself, you know, just take some intentional time every day to feed myself with some truth. Even if that can't be always pulling out my paper Bible or my paper journal, but really, you know, okay, so I'm going to listen to podcasts while I'm cleaning, or listen to a sermon while Ember's napping on me, or whatever it is, so that there is, you know, some truth specifically about what I'm dealing with that, you know, I can be feeding my mind with. And that's been really helpful.
That's so good. I mean, I think of, like, the Brandon Lake song line, like, I know the truth of the gospel, that you're on my side.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the biggest things that, and again, is what we've been talking about. That's what Satan tries to just take away from us, is our peace and our relationship with God.
Yeah.
And more than anything, what he's done from the beginning, right? Distorting who God really is. Mm-hmm. And that's where, you know, babe, I think about, you are someone that I just see every day, like, living by faith, trusting God. You shared about it publicly. You show it in your parenting. You show it in the way you go about our marriage. Like, I love that about you. And yet the enemy is still able to put those lies, right? and to
and to really make me, well, I guess he's not able to make me believe them. I guess that was my choice, but he's able to make them believable enough that if you're not really aware, you do start to believe them.
And that's, I think that's so important, because we can say that we believe the gospel, but that's why it's so important to, like my friend Eric told me, like something that he does, and honestly, like he comes from a little bit different faith tradition. He's Catholic, but he says what really helps him is I think it's the rosary or whatever. And for him, the way he described it, I never knew like what really it was, but the way he described it was he spends 20 minutes remembering the gospel.
That's probably not what it...
But that's what he describes it as.
Right. That may not be exactly what the standard protocol is, so to
Sure,
speak.
but
That's his experience with
yeah, again, this is not a lesson on Catholicism, or I'm not endorsing
or
Catholicism
what the rosary
personally.
is. We don't really actually fully know.
Yeah, but I'm saying for him,
Yeah.
that practice of remembering what the gospel is.
Yeah, that's powerful.
And, it's so easy, again, it's so easy to let it out of our minds and to start living in that lie.
Or to start living by our feelings, because when we were
Yeah.
talking about some of what I was feeling about that, you were like, well, do you actually think you're disappointing God? And I'm like, logically, I know the answer is no, but this is how I feel. And I kept going back to, but I feel that, I feel, and it's like, oh, so I'm living by my feelings, I guess, if everything goes back to, well, no, but I feel. It's like, okay, that's a red flag. Like, yeah, it's valid for me to feel that, but do I believe it just because I feel it? I shouldn't. Like, that's not the way we want to live.
Yeah. And remembering what the gospel actually says, right? That he is for us, that he loves us tenderly like a father, that it's not about our performance. It's about what he has done for us, right? Yeah.
I was reading Romans 8 this week, yeah.
That our performance is not, we don't grow closer in our standing before God, but that he's made us 100% righteous, that he's made us 100% his, that we are a child of God, and you don't become more of a child of God based on what you do.
Yeah, just like Ember doesn't become more our daughter when she sleeps well.
Yeah. Or, what's going to happen, right? God willing, is like, we are going to grow in relationship, and she's going to grow in a deeper understanding of who we are, and us, well, I mean, God already knows in and out, but for us, more of who she is. So that's a very different thing, but you're right. Like, at the end of the day, she's still our daughter, and that's where what I feel on my heart as we kind of wrap up this episode is, for people listening, like that title really hits home to me. Like, God is not disappointed in you.
Yeah.
Because as a father, if you have found yourself in a place where you feel like you don't really know God, or you feel like you've strayed away from God, or you feel like you've gone too far for him to love you, you need to know God's not disappointed in you. He knows the situation. He knows why you chose what you chose. And he chose to love you even before you made those choices. And it's a story. I love where I've heard Jonathan Leonardo talk about always child, that just like the parable in Luke 15, that the father, when he gives him the inheritance, knows the choices he's going to make, but still chooses to welcome him and to love him and to restore him to his status as son the minute he returns home. And so even if you feel far from God, God is not disappointed in you, and is just waiting to restore you to your status as a child. And if you have put your faith in Jesus, and you're finding yourself in life seasons and circumstances like not living to what you wish you were living up to, God's not disappointed in you. He is inviting you into a deeper relationship. He's inviting you to walk with him, but he's not looking down on you in shame or in condemnation. And that's where it's so important that we understand, again, the difference between relating to God based on religion and relating to God based on old mindsets, and even on the way that other people have treated us versus relating to him according to the gospel.
Yeah, that's really true. And at the end of the day, God's not disappointed in us. He's not looking down being like, you gotta do this and this and this and this. That's not what it's about. God does want us to believe the truth, though. And so it's not necessarily a matter of just, oh, God's not disappointed in me, so I carry on as I am. God's not disappointed in me. He loves me. I'm his kid. And because of that, he wants me to believe the truth about who he is and who I am.
Yeah.
And so I get to make that choice. I may not feel like making that choice, but I get to choose to make that choice. And once you start believing the truth about who God is and who you are, everything else falls into place by itself, really.
Yeah, you live
well,
out
not
of...
by itself, by the Holy Spirit, but yeah.
Yeah, the point is that it's a natural process of you start growing through a natural relationship with the Holy Spirit rather than by, again, trying to figure it out yourself, etc.
It's just you got to take God at his word. That's really what it comes down to.
Yeah, and again, that's pretty much what we talked about today, because whenever you love Ember and you live out of that, it's not that, like, sure, I'm sure there's moments you really have to choose it, but it's not like that's something that you're really trying hard to do.
Right.
That's something God living in you, and you're living that out.
And sometimes it's a choice to, like last night when I'm running around the house trying to get all her stuff ready for bed and she's still doing her dinosaur screams. It's like, I don't feel patient right now. But then I can step back and logically think, she's not trying to give me a hard time. This is one of my favorite lines from one of my podcasts that I listen to. Your kid is not trying to give you a hard time. They're having a hard time.
That's good.
And that's pretty good because you can feel like, just stop screaming. Please. I am making your bottle right now. You can wait 5 seconds to drink it. But your baby doesn't understand any of that. They're just hungry and they're tired, and so they're screaming. And so just remembering, okay, I feel really frustrated right now. I'm not going to live out of that frustration. Like, I'm not going. And honestly, for me, those moments where I feel really frustrated are pretty few and far between. I tend to feel other things, but not that very often. But when she's really upset and she's crying and I can't fix it immediately, that's a hard one for me because I hate hearing her cry. I just hate it. Like, if I know I can do something about it and I'm not able to do it instantly, it's very grating to me. But yeah, going back to that, like, it's not living by feelings. It's living by the truth. And just like, you know, we can choose that in how we relate to Ember. That's how God is towards us.
Yeah.
He doesn't live... I was going to say he doesn't live by his feelings. I don't know, actually, about any of that. So I'm going to just... He lives by the truth. I know that. We can live by the truth. Why don't you finish this up? Because that was really unprofound.
No, I like what you're saying. That at the end of the day, you know, God is truth. And we can choose to live in what reality really is. Mm-hmm. Which is that we have a loving Father who sees us, loves us as we are. He invites us to mature because that's better for us.
Yeah.
Right? But that in our current state, wherever we are, that's in a current life season, in our current level of performance, and whatever it is, he's not disappointed in us. He's not disappointed in you. Mm. And so, yeah, that's our theme today.
That's what we're learning.
That is what we're learning. Because as much as we are here and we talk about it all the time, and we even talking about it at home, whatever, Mike Tyson has that quote, like, everybody has a plan until they get punched in the face. And it's true. Like,
have you ever been punched in the face?
By my brother. Well, I mean, we grew up together.
That's fair.
We're brothers, yeah.
I don't know if I have.
I think mostly by my brother. Yeah. I did get in one fight in 6th grade.
Really? I've never heard about this.
Well, because it wasn't...
Was it over a girl?
Well,
I knew it.
it didn't last long. I got knocked down pretty quick. He was older than me.
Aw.
It was not my finest moment. Anyway.
I want to hear more about that later.
Yeah, maybe. Oh,
Maybe. I want to know who started the fight. I doubt it was you.
There were extenuating circumstances.
Okay, it's okay. You don't have to talk about it on the podcast, but I do want to hear the story.
I mean, I forgot exactly what it was.
Mm-hmm.
I think I was probably... we were at a basketball game.
She's mine, bro. No, man, she's mine.
No. It wasn't like a bar fight or whatever. It was more like just tensions that had built over time spilling over
Into the basketball game?
No, it was in the back, and it was dark, and there were female onlookers, and I did get knocked down pretty quickly. So
Wait, like physically knocked down?
yeah, this
Maybe.
is a
I thought you meant...
it's turned into a therapy session. I did not see this coming. Yeah, I did. I guess I didn't tell you about that.
You got... The kid knocked you down?
Yeah.
Like flat on the ground?
I mean, I got knocked down. I don't know how much more flat you...
That's so mean.
I mean, it happens.
Did you punch him?
I probably tried to, but I wasn't very strong at the time.
Aww.
But like I said...
Was it because you like the same girl?
It probably had something to do with that. I forget the details.
Oh,
But the point is that everybody has a plan. Sorry to everybody listening. Anyway,
I bet they wanted to hear about your little
Oh,
sixth
gosh.
grade fight in the back of the dark of the basketball game.
Everybody has a plan until they get punched in the face. And that's really a lot of times how life is.
It's true.
Like, you know, you have the game plan. Yes, I believe in the gospel, all this stuff. And then life hits you and it's hard. And that's the importance of inviting the Holy Spirit, living by the Spirit. That it's not that you're not going to have those feelings, but what I'm finding is that the Holy Spirit gives me this reserve. Like he gives me, in the moment of decision, he gives me the power and the option to live by faith instead of just my feelings. And I don't bat 100. And, you know, I get grumpy sometimes and all that stuff. And, you know, I'm doing my best not to live out of that. But that is what God is teaching us is, you know, in your life, in my life, to believe the truth of the gospel, that he is on our side and he's not against us and he is for us. And that's something you have to fight for sometimes.
You have to fight to believe the truth because it doesn't come natural all the time.
And the crazy part is that God is actually fighting that battle with us.
Fighting for me. God is not against me.
There it is. You should listen to that song if you haven't. Love you guys. Thank you so much for listening to the Better Than We Thought podcast. We'll see you soon for another episode.